Welcome to section 6, part 3. We're going to crack into making a Teams plugin and hopefully use probably anywhere. It might need some tweaking to go in a standalone project, but it definitely can. Principles that we're going to put into the plugin can be used in any project. So leaving off from last time, I'm going to go straight into a build. Easier to create a plugin from inside and do it manually. I'm just going to do a build. This is also a good time to check if we've got any errors from the previous stuff we've been working on with the AI. So we've got one error. That isn't an error, that isn't up. Like a reference error. Yeah, linking error. This in the core project here. That was it. So the warning. Oh, it's, I know what that. So in if you go to the actual U plugin, so it needs it as a plugin reference. Copy that. What it needs. Character one. Not going to stop anything from working, it's just a reference. So when you install the plugin, it says, hey, you also need this plugin. Good. So back in the editor now, I'm not going to mess with anything else. We'll put all the creating the behavior tree and data and all that. We'll do that later in one video, but for now I just want to go to plugins and create a new plugin. Be a blank plugin. I'm going to call it RTS Teams. Call it whatever you like. Alright, I'm going to close all this off. Start in RTS Teams. Don't get confused. And we're going to start by creating the data. So this will be what you define your teams with. Put it in public, framework, data. Bring up our data from our data. Grab this. This is the type, code. Remain the same. Alright, so now we're going to add some properties of things that will make up our team. So I'm going to change read only, edit anyway. Category will just be teams. Actually, I'll change this to configuration, this first part. The configuration of the team. First thing I'm going to do is just a name for the team. So I'll call it team name. The next thing I'm going to do is have a bunch of parameters that you can set for the team. So what I'm going to do an example of is the team colors. So when you set the team, it'll set the color for whatever you want it to. I'm going to have a team map. Going to be the name of the property that we're going to change. Colors, color parameters. It'll make a bit more sense a bit later, but essentially what we're doing is we're listing material parameters here that we're going to set the color to. This next one will be float, because there's going to be any scalar parameters we want to change. And we'll do one more for texture, set a texture. Say like a team has a picture of it on their flag or something. The last variable we want to set is the slots of the team. So this will just be the number of slots the team has. So this will allow you to configure different team setups for different types of gameplay and stuff. So you might have, blue team with only one person per team, or you might have blue team in another map or something that's, co-op. or 2 versus 2, so you can have two different ways to set this up, but this is how we're doing it. And now the next stuff we want to add here is just functions that uses all this stuff that we've just got in our team information here. So set up the U function thing, so you can use these in blueprints if you want. After. The first function we want is apply to material, and we're going to pass a material instance. Dynamic is what we want, and set parameters on. Now I'm going to have a few of these, so I'm just going to duplicate this 4 more times. So this next one is going to be applied to a decal component, applied to a mesh component, applied to a Niagara component. It'll just be applied to actor. Change these. This will be a U. This one's going to be a mesh component. This one's just going to be an actor. And we're going to put a bool into this one, just to include child actors. And we'll default it. So in here, we just want to check that whatever we're passing through is valid. So and this. So now what we want to do is loop over our parameters that we set. So each of these, where it applies. It's going to be a bit repetitive here, as we can't really use in different components, but I might just do it for it. Make it const, I can make it reference. It's going to be a key value pair of the maps. And we just need to assign this to the material. Like so. So that's going to go through any scalar parameters that we define in our data. Going to go through whatever material you pass in. It's going to set them as the value. So the name and the value. Duplicate that. Input color params. And the color param here is an F vector, so we're just gonna, it just accepts an F vector, which is what a color parameter is. Sorry, this vector parameter. And then duplicate it again. Oh, sorry, we've got to make sure it's loaded first, the texture, so, because it's that soft pointer, so if we have a texture value there, then we can put the same value in there. Okay, so that'll run through and set all the settings on whatever material we pass in. Now for the decal component, I think we need texture for that. We're definitely going to have parameters, so I'm going to put this in an if statement because we need to do another step here. And this just needs an include the decal component. Oh, actually, yeah, sorry, I'm going to fix that. I'll do this bit first. So the reason why that's erroring is because a standard decal component doesn't have a set scalar parameter. It's a component, right? It's not a material. So what we need to do is ensure that our material is a dynamic instance so we can set parameters on it. We're going to cast our decal component material to a dynamic material. And if it's not a dynamic material, then we're going to make one. And decal component has a function to get the decal material. In here, that's set. And if that dynamic material is null, then we want to create one. And again, a decal component has a function on it to create a dynamic instance, create dynamic material instance. And I found that trying to do it manually doesn't work, so you use this function. And then we can check if it's not equal to null. We can go ahead and set our parameters. So if any of our parameters in our data setup apply to this material, then it'll update those things. You'll see a demo of this. We're going to do it. So if you don't follow what we're doing right now, don't worry about it. The mesh component's a lot easier. It's just going to be just setting these directly again. Oh, sorry. This is that scalar parameter value on materials function. That's what we change for the mesh component. Oh, and there's no texture one. Right, yep. No texture the mesh component, just setting either scalar or a vector color, whatever. If you look in the materials one, it handles getting the materials, the dynamic instance, and setting the parameter in that function. So it's sort of similar to what we just did here. By Niagara, we can copy all these again. And again, once an include come up for me. Oh, the reason why this doesn't come up is because in our build.cs we need to add Niagara. So that's entity team build. So while I'm in here, I'm going to do all the includes that we're going to need. So if you come into public dependencies, we're going to need one for RTS core. We're going to need that AI module again. And we're going to be doing some different, we're going to be using fast replication. So I'm going to use netcore. And then in private, we will need the reason why we're coming here, the Niagara. I'm not sure how to say that. Niagara. But anyway, so they're all the includes we should need for this. Didn't mean to open that. So now when that kicks in, we should be able to, this include should come up. There it is. And include the Niagara component. And the Niagara component has its own functions as well. So this one is a set float parameter. And this one's called set variable color or something. Linear color. And this one's texture. And that doesn't need, actually accepts a linear color, so we that direct, make it an effector. Like before. For the actor, you can do a for each on components. So our target actor for each component. And then this is where it takes that child actors. So it says we're going to do it on all child components. So we're going to pass our boolean in. This is actually a lambda. To set one of those up, you tell it what you're passing in. So we're passing in this. The component. This is the, like naming the for each instance. That was meant to bracket. That's like the variable we're passing in. And then on the inside of this bracket, we want code class, and this will have a semicolon on that. So for each instance of component that we have, we're going to check its type, and then we're going to do one of our functions above. So if it's a UMesh component, we'll do a Niagara one. And the last one is the decal. There's just another method of setting parameters on an actor that you might want to change the team to. That is our data done. We need to begin implementing a Teams interface. So this will be something that we cast to when we want to access Teams on something. So we're going to set that up in Core. Going to be interface. Now we want to change the inheritance here. So there's already a Teams interface that Unreal has, and it's called, change the inheritance here, called iGeneric Team Interface, Team Agent Interface. Because we put the AI module in the build, it should come up. Oh no, we didn't have it in we didn't have it in core. Sorry, okay, add it to core. So in the core build, what I'm in now, we need to add the AI module. Sorry about that. What about that one? And then we need to change this to the object of the interface. That should have, get rid of that normal interface, and that's what we're referencing to there with the include. And then we'll just bring this API up here like we usually do on the other interfaces so we can talk to it in other plugins. Now in here, this is going to look familiar if you've messed with Lyra. We're going to have a delegate, a multicast, and blueprints if we want. Reparam, df on this. If you have a look at this interface, it has the set and get, the team attitude stuff, but there's nothing to notify anything about a change of team, so that's what we're adding to it, right? We're adding the change of team notification. So when we implement the interface, we'll assign that delegate, an instance of that delegate, to whatever we're implementing the Teams interface on, and that way when the team changes on that thing, it can broadcast its delegate. So I'm just creating a getter here for the delegate, which will then override on when we implement this. And we're going to have a static function on here. If you haven't seen this T-script interface, sort of like a way to pass interfaces around, what I can gather. So this is what will get called when we broadcast a team change. This is taken straight from Lyra. I want to check it out in Lyra. And then the team ID. Sorry, new team X. And then we do the get interface. So that's part of that script interface script. Sorry, script interface. So we're using this to get the interface. We're using the getter, get the local instance of the whatever's implemented this interface. We're using this getter to get its local version of the delegate. I'm going to broadcast it. So if you come back to so we're broadcasting this delegate from the whatever's implemented this base. And there's another one they implement in Lyra. I guess we'll put it in here. It's still the same sort of delegate, but it gets it as a reference, and checked. So get. And we just want to do the same, like we just want to do this. And you just run the check on it. That'll just error out if it's not valid. But if it's valid, you can return the result. That's so you can do stuff like this without, like doing a if valid, then do this, go straight. So that's our interface. I think the next thing we'll do is the actual info class. So this is when going to be, so we've got our data as the team information, and then we're going to spawn an instance of the team. What this team info is going to be, I'm going to call it team info. Essentially that's the information about the team. But it's more like information that's current, not the data. This is the data to make the team, what to do with the team when you're that team. And this next thing is going to be like who's on the team. So we'll put that in the data folder as well. I'm going to inherit from the info class, which is one above a U object. Not going to need tick for this. We are going to add the object initializer, so I'm going to copy from somewhere. And I'm going to put a get in here. I honestly am not sure why that sometimes you need this get, but if anyone does know, chuck it in the comments. Don't need. So we're going to need what is the team ID. That's going to be raw int. I'm using uint8 just because it saves on data instead of an int32. And this will be replicated. So we need to add replication. And now this is where you need this for the fast rep. Because this, we want this be is pushed based. I'm not an expert on replication with this, but the way I understand it is that fast rep only replicates when you mark it as dirty. So whereas normal replication sort of does it more often, this only does it. So if you've got something that only is going to replicate very rarely, and in this case it's probably only going to be at the start of a game for us, and you can set it with this and it just replicates it once. And there's no more overhead to it. And then to set what the replicated variable is, there's a separate to this one here, do lifetime with params fast. And then it's the same, but you pass the shared params that we just have above. It came under this as like normal replication does, but they're just mark it as dirty. I think there's another include, but we'll get to that when we set it. In the constructor, there's a few things we want to set on this. So we want it to be replicated, so replication works, right? Doesn't matter what variables you set to replicate. If replicate's not enabled, there's no replication. We're going to set it to be always relevant. There's going to be like an actor in the world. If you're far away from it, it could actually become not relevant and you won't be able to read the team data. And I'm going to set net priority, which I believe is low, right? So it's not a priority. And then there's a set replicating movement, and I'm going to set that to false. So there's no need for this to worry about its position or whatever it's doing. Where it spawns, fine, it's just sort of like a background actor. While I was setting up this fast params, there's one thing that I discovered online, and that is in the come up to config and then your default engine.ini. There's a whole bunch of crap in here, don't really get stressed about it, but there's a setting for fast replication. So it won't not work, but it will just work as normal replication if you don't put this setting in, from my understanding. Net.is push mode enabled. So that's the replication setup there for the team ID. So let's create a getter for that. All right, now we need a couple other parameters, 2 more to be exact. So copy them over, and the first one's going to be a T object pointer. This is our data, right, that we just set up, but it's the casted to version of the data. So it's going to be teams data asset, and we've got the forward declaration. This will be I'm going to call this the team play asset. Holds all the raw settings for the team. And then the next one is going to be an array of members that are assigned to this team. And we're going to assign them via player states. They're only going to be players that are assigned to teams at this point. And if we do, sorry, we don't have a player state, we need to create a player state. I'm just going to put a player state here. State that when we create it, I think do that next. But when we do have AI, say we have AI players in our game, you can make them have a player state, treat them like actual players, and that's a good way to do it. I might bust out and just create the class because we're going to need to reference it with some other things here. So back in our teams, the framework. Or player state is what we want to inherit off. We'll need to change our project one as well. I'm going to put this under framework player. Come down to here because this is this. That's adding our new plugin to build CS of our project. That all sorted. Yes. So we'll come back to this. I just wanted a class reference. Go back to our info and we'll change that class there. With the forward declaration. So that's what we want the members to be referenced as, player states. So I think I might move these properties down to private section, and then we need to do our replication for these. Go back to here. Okay. Replication. And now we want to assign members. So under protected, I'm going to return a bool for the assign, so it can assign the member. And we obviously need to pass in the player state. So to assign a team member, we need to see if there's enough slots. So based on how many slots the member in the data had slots here. So let's create a quick getter for that. I'll make it public in case we want to use it else later. But I think we'll use this later because we're going to be assigning random teams option. So it'd be good to be able to check if the random team that we just generated has an available slot. So now the information for this is in our teams data. So we just do return team display asset. So they'll check that it's valid and then make the slots minus the number of members. 0 means there's a free slot. This needs to include the teams data asset. So in our assigned team, we'll just do a double check. Available slot. We add the member, make it an add unique. And then this is where we need to mark the property dirty. And we want to do it by name. Mark property by name. And then this we want to do it on, and variable is members. That's just this. That's what it added for that mark dirty that I was talking about. There's another include that you need on top of the Unreal Network, and that's why you need that net core include. So if that occurs, then we'll just return true here, and then if anything fails, we'll return false. So then when we assign a team member, if we get a return of false, then we know either there's no slots or something wrong. All right, so we need a setter for our team ID, but I just don't want anyone to be able to set the team on a team info, because then you could just change the team and stuff like that in a game. So we're going to keep it as private, and later when we do the creation of this team's info, we'll make that class a friend class, so it's the only thing. So we're going to have like a teams manager. That'll be the only thing that can set the team on the team info. Team info should never change team. It's a set thing. I'll type today. We'll do the same for the set. I'm going to make sure we have authority here. Both. Get our team ID. And do this same mark property. And then copy this. Probably check too that the asset is not. Righto. Now we just need, we're assigning a team member. Now if we want to remove one, sorry, no. And let's make a getter for that, so we can get all the team members. That needs to be Luke. And I might do one that does the team count. And the last thing I want is just a getter for the team display asset. So we can read the data, but we can't alter the data. Alright, I'm going to leave a gap here for to do for later. I need to add that friends class, so that's it in here. So I want to finish off the player state first. So in the player state, we want to implement the team's interface. Interface, added the include, create a section for that. Not sure if there'll be anything else in here, but now this will include, so if we go back to our interface, this will include what's in the team agent. So we want the set, the get, don't need to do the attitude. Fine. So let's just copy these. Implement those. And then we're going to create a getter for just the team ID. So not the F generic team ID, just the ID number sort of thing. We need that team ID. And we're actually going to do this replicated using, have an on rep for that. Sorry, this should have been expected. And with the on reps, you can pass the old variable, so we're going to do that. I shouldn't say old, it's the current. Oh, it kind of is old because the previous, the one coming in is the new. So we only want to set it if we have authority. And we're going to go back to our info, CPP, and we're going to copy, I have to type out the replication again. I'm going to use fast rep again. Changing this to player state replicated class. I'm in the wrong player state, right? So I don't want to be in this bottom one, I want to be in the teams one. So sorry about that. I rip all of this out, CPP. All of this out. keep that open for now because we need to get the interface. I'm gonna close this off so I don't extend into that again. But we just replace these class names. Include for the networking. Okay, sorry about that. Back over to here. Yeah, so team ID. Set it to a generic node team. So that struct has a feature that does that, and that's actually by default that'll be team 255. And in here we want to go team ID. Team, come in. We're going to change that name. That'll fits. And we need to do the mark property again. Name. And then we do the conditional broadcast. The reason why we can access that, it's on the interface, right? Sorry, the old team ID will be, well, it will be the team ID before we set it here. So what I'm going to do is set a variable for the old team ID. Yep. And in the on rep, I want to call this broadcast as well. I don't think we need to implement that function. Oh, these are overrides. Getting the green squiggly. Now we need to create the, if you recall, when I was doing the interface, we needed an instance of the delegate on the whoever implements the interface. So protected. And then we need to override the function that gets that. And we'll return that by reference. So by calling that broadcast in the on rep, that means that clients will get the notification. A bit easier to do like you want stuff later. And this needed to be the getter. So I might leave this video here. We're traveling along pretty good on the team stuff, and then in the next video we'll look at setting up our Teams Manager component and talking to everything we need to talk to and setting colors and team, creating instances of teams. If you're finding these videos helpful, give us a subscribe or a like. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next part. Thanks for watching.